Imagine, my brothers and sisters, an ancient tomb being opened after centuries of silence. The cold stones bear the weight of time, but inside them lies something that defies human logic. In 1582, in the small town of Alba de Tormes, Spain, Saint Teresa of Ávila left this world. But what happened to her body after death continues to this day to be called a miracle. Saint Teresa was not an ordinary woman. Born in 1515 in a Spain marked by faith and by the tensions of the Protestant Reformation, she was called by God to restore spiritual life at the very heart of the Church. Teresa founded convents, wrote mystical works of profound wisdom, and lived supernatural experiences that witnesses could not explain, ecstasies, levitations, and visions of Christ himself. Her writings, such as The Interior Castle, remain even today as beacons of light for those who seek intimacy with God. But there is something even more astonishing. When she died on October 4, 1582, Teresa was buried in a simple manner, as was customary among the Carmelites. Her body was placed in a damp tomb, with no embalming process whatsoever. It was expected that, like any other human being, her body would decay with time. However, right on the day of her death, extraordinary signs began to emerge. Witnesses claimed to perceive a supernatural fragrance emanating from her body, a sweet aroma of flowers, especially roses and jasmine, that lingered for days, even after her burial. 9 months later, they decided to open her tomb. The reason was simple. They wanted to transfer her body to Ávila, her hometown. Yet what the religious discovered that morning transformed a nun into a living sign of God's presence. Before them lay Teresa's body, incorrupt. Her skin retained color, elasticity, and softness. Her hair shone. There was no odor of death, but rather the fragrance that is still today called the odor of sanctity. And, to increase the mystery even further, when they cut part of her tunic to keep as a relic, it is said that fresh blood flowed as if she were alive. How can it be explained that, after months of burial in precarious conditions, the body remained intact? For the faithful, there was no doubt. It was a miracle, a sign of the holiness of the woman who had dedicated her life to the Lord. This was only the beginning of a long history of wonders. For over the centuries, every time her body was examined, new surprises came to light. And not only the whole body, but also specific relics, such as her heart and her right arm, continued to present signs inexplicable to science. My brother, my sister, if you have come this far, it is because the mystery of faith also touches your soul. I want to invite you. Write in the comments the name of someone for whom you would like to ask for a miracle today. This space is more than a channel. It is a community of prayer and faith, where the mysteries of God reveal themselves in each sharing. And remember, we are only just beginning. In the next part, I will tell you what the Church and science discovered in each exhumation of Saint Teresa's body. Get ready, because the story only becomes more astonishing. After the first exhumation in 1583, the astonishment before the incorrupt body of Saint Teresa quickly spread among the faithful. What was supposed to be a simple transfer of her remains became an event that drew crowds. But that was not the only time her tomb was open. Over the centuries, several exhumations took place, and in each of them, new mysteries were revealed. In 1585, just 3 years after her death, her body was examined again. Once more, it was intact. The skin still retained softness, and the fragrance of flowers was still present. Devotion grew, and parts of her body were removed to become relics. Her right arm was taken to Ávila, where it is venerated with great devotion to this day. Her heart, preserved in Alba de Tormes, still displays a mysterious mark, a deep wound, as if it had been pierced, reminiscent of the mystical experiences Teresa described when she felt her heart pierced by divine love. Centuries later, in 1616, another exhumation confirmed that decomposition had not advanced. In the 17th century, her body was divided into smaller parts to facilitate the distribution of relics, a common practice at the time, though unthinkable today. Each fragment, however, continued to show inexplicable signs of preservation. The heart, for instance, remained flexible, and many pilgrims claim to feel a supernatural presence when approaching it. Fast forward to 1914, when an official medical commission examined the body. Modern science was beginning to demand rational explanations, but the final report was startling. Preservation that defies any known scientific explanation. How could flexible tissues, natural skin color, and absence of odor exist after more than 300 years without any preservation treatment? And as if that were not enough, in 1982, exactly 400 years after her death, new analyses were conducted. Doctors and researchers observed that parts of the body still retained elasticity in the tissues. The mysterious fragrance was still present, and once again, no traces of embalming or artificial preservation techniques were found. To this day, scientists who have studied the phenomenon admit there is no satisfactory explanation. But here, my brothers and sisters, we must reflect. Can all mysteries be reduced to scientific formulas? Or does God, in His infinite mercy, give us signs to strengthen our faith, signs that transcend human understanding? The incorruptibility of Saint Teresa is not alone in the history of the Church. Other saints, such as Saint John Mary Vianney, Saint Bernadette Soubirous, and Saint Padre Pio, also showed bodies preserved in extraordinary ways. But each case has unique characteristics, and Teresa's remains one of the most striking, both for the duration and for the intensity of the phenomena. And there is another detail. It is not only about physical preservation. Many of the faithful report healings and graces received while praying before her relics. Pilgrims who visit Alba de Tormes often say they leave with their hearts in peace, as if they had touched something of heaven. Discreet but deeply transformative miracles continue to occur throughout the centuries. My brother, my sister, if this story is touching your soul, I ask you, subscribe to our channel. Here we do not simply tell stories, but we share living signs of faith that cross generations. And write in the comments, do you believe that the incorrupt body of Saint Teresa is a miracle? Your participation helps us keep alive this flame of reflection and devotion. But we are not done yet. In the next block, we will dive not only into the relics and examinations, but also into the spiritual meaning of this mystery. After all, what did God wish to teach us by keeping the body of Saint Teresa of Ávila intact? My dear brothers and sisters, we now arrive at the deepest point of this story. For in the face of so many accounts, so many exhumations and investigations, an essential question arises. What did God wish to teach us through the incorrupt body of Saint Teresa of Ávila? First of all, we must understand who Teresa was in her spiritual life. She not only founded convents and wrote works, she lived an intimate and transformative experience with God. In her writings, she described the human heart as an interior castle, full of dwelling places where the soul is called to enter until it finds itself fully united with the Beloved. For Teresa, the Christian life was a journey of purification, prayer, and mystical union. Her life was marked by suffering, misunderstandings, illnesses, and at the same time by mystical experiences that revealed the greatness of divine love. The incorruptibility of her body can be seen as a continuation of this mystery, as if God Himself confirmed in a visible way that a life of holiness transcends the corruption of the flesh. It is a sign not only for her time but also for ours. In a world that doubts the supernatural, Teresa's preserved body is a silent testimony that heaven exists and that holiness leaves eternal marks. But we must not forget, the Church never obliges us to believe in miracles like this. What is essential to our faith is Christ crucified and risen. However, these extraordinary signs are like open windows to the mystery, invitations that God gives us so that we may not lose hope. The body of Saint Teresa continues to be visited by pilgrims in Alba de Tormes. Many go in search of consolation, others for healing, others simply to sit in silence before the unexplainable. And indeed, reports of graces and miracles continue to be attributed to her intercession. There is a beautiful detail. Her heart, preserved to this day, shows a visible wound. The Carmelites believe that it is a physical sign of the transverberatio, the mystical experience in which Teresa described being pierced by a lance of fire, a symbol of God's love that went through her soul. That wounded heart, preserved intact, speaks louder than any sermon. It speaks of the intensity with which she loved and was loved by God, And here is a reflection I would like to leave in your heart. If God allowed Teresa's body to remain incorrupt, could it be that He also calls us to seek a life that leaves eternal marks? Perhaps you may never have visions, ecstasies, or mystical phenomena, but your fidelity in small things, your silent prayer, your patience in the face of difficulties, all of this is also incorruptible in God's eyes. It is what remains forever. Perhaps, my brother, my sister, you are going through moments in which your faith feels shaken. Perhaps science, doubts, or the pains of life have left your heart restless. But in the witness of Saint Teresa, I invite you, open once more the doors of your interior castle. Enter the dwelling places of the soul where God waits for you. Because in the end, the true miracle is not an incorrupt body, but a heart transformed by divine love. And if this message has touched your life, be part of this community of faith. Subscribe, leave your like, and share in the comments. What miracle do you ask of God today? Perhaps your intention will be the next testimony that edifies other hearts. In the next video, we will explore another mystery of faith, the tears of blood of the Virgin Mary in Civitavecchia, a phenomenon that even the Vatican investigated with awe. May the life and witness of Saint Teresa of Ávila help us keep our hope in heaven firm, and may the love of God continue to be the fragrance that never fades in our souls.